So here's the thing that should scare you a little if you're building software. Most SaaS products don't die because the code was bad. They die because nobody wanted the thing in the first place. Last week I watched the developers spend days building an app to fix exactly that. It scrapes Reddit, finds what people complain about, and turns that into validated product ideas, which is genuinely clever. But the whole time I kept thinking I really don't want to build a scraper for this. So I did the same thing by typing one sentence into Claude, and by the end of this video you'll see the 5 ideas it came back with, and the actual threads behind every one of them. And the setup is honestly the least impressive part, which is kind of the point. Claude has Adlicio connected, and when I ask it to research a market, it goes off and searches Reddit, opens the threads where business owners are complaining, pulls in all the comments, throws away the junk, and then groups together the problems that keep coming up. So my whole job here is asking one good question and judging what comes back. I never wrote a line of code, and I never even left the chat window. Now, why Reddit of all places? Honestly, because it's one of the last corners of the internet where people write like nobody's watching. On LinkedIn, everyone is crushing it. Nobody is crushing it on Reddit. On Reddit, a guy will tell you he's been doing his receipts in a spreadsheet for 6 years and he hates his life. And when somebody describes a problem in that much detail unprompted for free, that's not content anymore. That's basically a purchase order with feelings attached. So I asked for buyer pain, and what came back on the first rung was, well, Reddit being Reddit. The sweep pulled a bit over 4,000 comments out of 24 threads, and a lot of it was useless. One of the biggest threads it grabbed was a story about a remote coworker who kept his camera off for 4 years. Amazing story, genuinely, go read it, but there is no business in there. And when it found a thread that literally asked people what app they would pay for, the top answer was, and I'm quoting, "I'd love an app that makes me rich, thanks." So that was lesson 1. If you search for what's popular, you get what's popular, and what's popular is almost never what hurts. For the second run, I got specific with it. I gave it 5 business subreddits to stay inside, and I changed the question to the stuff people actually argue about. Like, what software do you hate but can't stop paying for? And what wastes the most hours in your week? And the difference was honestly a little ridiculous. Same tool, same afternoon. But now almost every thread was a business owner describing a problem in the exact words they type into Google at 2 in the morning. Then comes the part nobody wants to do by hand, because hundreds of those comments are just the word this or lol, or somebody quietly plugging their own app in the replies. Adlicio strips those out on its own. And Claude sorts what's left using one rule that I think about a lot now. A complaint only counts when strangers keep bringing it up in different threads, in different words, without ever talking to each other. Because when that happens, you're not looking at an opinion anymore. You're looking at demand that doesn't have a product yet. And just so you can see this is real, here's the actual run. I paste the prompt into Claude, it fires up Adlicio, and you can watch it, search the subreddits, open the threads, and pull the comments in. A few minutes are compressed into a few seconds here, and then the ideas start rendering with the quotes attached. What's on screen right now is the exact research this whole video is built on. Okay, the results. The first idea it pulled out is that simple receipt tracking for people who run their business alone, and this one showed up in 6 different threads, which is wild. People kept saying the big expense tools took them, quote, hours and hours to accomplish a small task, and that everything out there is either bloated accounting software or too dumb to be useful. But my favorite detail is buried in the comments. Scanning a receipt is a solved problem. What nobody has solved is getting people to keep doing it. Because everyone starts strong and ends up with a shoebox of receipts in April. So whoever cracks the habit part, not the scanning part, probably wins the whole category. The second one is my favorite of the 5, bookkeeping software that you own instead of rent. And I want to read you the comment that started it, because I couldn't write copy this good if I tried. Quote, "I don't want a SaaS. I want to buy a license every 10 years or so. Bookkeeping is just not that complicated." Another guy described getting locked out of his own records after canceling like this. That's not a subscription model, that's a hostage situation. And the top voted comment in that whole thread is someone saying he'll keep running his fully paid desktop version until it physically breaks. Because a modern replacement simply doesn't exist. The market is standing there, yelling, "Take my money." Idea 3 started the most heated argument of the whole sweep. It's a tool that chases overdue invoices and follow-ups for you. There's a thread with almost 300 comments fighting about whether some app really makes 14 grand a month doing this for plumbers, and honestly, nobody in there could prove that number. But buried in the middle of the argument, a real paving contractor wrote out the entire product for free. He said he's always wanted a simple estimating and invoicing program that would automatically follow up with clients, because as a sole prop, he forgets and he ends up missing out on a lot of additional business. The customer literally wrote the spec sheet. And idea 4 is beautifully specific. Invoicing for trades businesses where parts and labor get their own subtotals on the same invoice. There's a shop owner who refuses to pay $2,000 a year for the big industry software when he'd use exactly one feature of it. That man is sitting there with his credit card out. And the fifth one came out of the salon world. Solo stylists and estheticians are fleeing the big booking platforms, and they're weirdly specific about why. Appointments that just vanish off the calendar, deposit math that quietly changes, and pricing where, quote, every little thing is an add-on charge. One esthetician said she used the same platform for 10 years before finally leaving it. And here's my favorite part of this cluster. The demand is so loud that half the thread is indie developers announcing they're already building their own replacement. But like all of these, you don't have to take my word for it, because every idea links back to the actual threads, so you can read the complaints yourself before you write a single line of code. And if you take one thing away from this whole experiment, let it be this. The AI never got smarter between my terrible first run and my useful second run. The only thing that changed was what I fed it. When you give a model real customer language, it stops making things up because it doesn't have to guess anymore. That's actually the entire idea behind Adlicio. Marketers use it every day to turn reviews and comments into ad angles, and the exact same engine works when you point it at your next product instead. So if you want to run this on your own market, you connect Adlicio to Claude, ask it to dig through the communities where your customers already complain, and then you just read what it brings back. The link is in the description.